Allison is here. Now we can start.
Oh,
We're
yes.
just waiting on Allison.
Yep, that's it.
Oh, sorry, guys.
No, he's kidding. He's kidding.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about servicing and marketing, two very important things in our business, especially servicing. The way you service people is going to be how they remember you, and that's going to be why they come back to you, and it's going to be why they refer business to you. So very, very, very important chapter. It's not a real long chapter, but we're going to go through it. I'm going to do most of what is in the actual course, because some of this, all these courses are written for nationwide, and not every area operates the same. So I may be skipping a couple parts here and there, but you won't notice it because I'm going to focus on how real estate works here in our area. Okay, and then I'm also going to mix in some actual experiences that I have had. And if anybody else has an experience that's related to what we're talking about, feel free to share it. And I always invite input and sharing as well. So if everybody is ready, we can start, and I'll go to share the screen. Oh yeah, a couple other things. As I go from one section to the next, I'll ask for any questions, or if anybody has input, I'll wait maybe 5 to 7 seconds. That way it gives people a chance to find the unmute button. And if nobody has anything, then we'll just move on. Okay. And if everybody's ready, there we go. Oops. I hit the wrong button. Here we go. Share screen. Everybody able to see the chapter 4?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So once again, servicing and marketing, very important. Servicing, as I just was saying, it's going to actually give people a reason to hopefully come back to you and continue to grow your business. Marketing, of course, you got to do marketing. We're marketing a couple things. We're marketing what we're selling, but we're also having to market ourselves. Okay, so we will be talking about those things. And the goal, of course, is we need to market the home. Okay, and also along with marketing the home, what we need to do is get it done in a certain time frame. And a lot of times people have certain deadlines in life that are going to affect when they need our transaction to finish. For example, I have clients right now that they were starting to get to the point where they say, well, if it doesn't sell soon, we're going to have to maybe wait till maybe spring because school's starting soon. Fortunately, we got an offering and everything's going forward. So very important. I'm trying to figure out how to.
Good job.
Okay, going backwards. Okay, here we go. So the course talks about 3 levels of service. You have a purpose, a value proposition, and fiduciary, which a lot of people don't even think about, but we're going to tap into that a little bit today. So servicing is something that you have to have a really inside feeling of why they should use you. What is the purpose? You have to be able to explain why use me, or why they should use you. Be able to explain that, and be able to explain it at any time. Now, the purpose is, they say here in the course, a clear understanding of why you should be hired. And you should be able to say it at any time to anyone. So just like we practice scripts to handle objections, pricing strategies, different things like that, you have to also work on your script on why they should work with you. And that's probably one of the least practiced scripts there is. And believe me, that question will come up. They say, well, why should we hire you over this other agent? Or why should we use your company over this company? And you can't sit there and stutter. You got to be prepared for it. So practice this script just like any other script that you're going to be practicing. Okay. Value proposition. What they're saying is a value proposition. This is where you're going to describe in detail all the different things you're going to be doing to accomplish their goal. And the fiduciary, this is the one that a lot of people don't even think about, but our number 1 priority is the interest of the client, our client. Number 1, their interest comes before anybody else's interest, even ahead of our interest. Very, very important. And we have to make sure that we keep that in mind, because everything we do has to be in the best interest of our clients. Now, most people, you know, when you first take your test, I'm sure that all the new people are going to know about the fiduciary responsibility. Do you know where you can find it? I mean, if you want to read completely about your fiduciary responsibility, do you know where you can find that?
Code of Ethics.
Yep, Code of Ethics. Article 1 of the Code of Ethics goes, it's a long set of principles that you have to follow. And I have a couple of attorney friends, and they said that whenever there's a deposition, a lot of times the attorney will ask the defendant, what's Article 1 of your Code of Ethics? And they say that most agents have no idea what they're talking about. And they do that just to paint you in a bad light. So always remember that our fiduciary responsibility is to hold our client's interest above anybody else's, including my own. That's in the Article 1 of the Code of Ethics. So always remember that. And also when you are working with clients and you display that type of service, that makes them feel real good, and that's where you're going to get the referrals. Okay, any questions on that so far?
No. Good reminder. You know, I have my binder still from day one when I joined SCORE, and they give you your Code of Ethics, and I have it in my binder. It's in plastic, you know, the plastic sleeves, and it's a good reminder that now and then to refresh our memory to read that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a long, Article 1 is pretty long, but the main thing is our client's interest comes above all else.
That's what it says.
Yeah, so now we talk about standards of service, and everybody needs to have certain standards. And basically what that means is, how do you operate? What is it that you do that sets you apart from somebody else? Some people are going to have a list of 30 things that they do. Some people may have a list of 10 things that they do. The key is to be consistent with it and let your clients know what it is that you are going to do. This is my method. This is my mode of operation. This is my service agreement with you, however you want to phrase it, but have something that's consistent that you can turn it into a systematic thing where eventually you'll have an assistant or maybe a partner or maybe even a team. And then everybody knows exactly how to operate, because this is your business, your set of standards, okay? Now it talks about communication. It's one of the important things is communication in your standards or your service standards. Communication actually was one of the top complaints from clients when it comes to real estate or the real estate agent. They say that they didn't have enough communication. They were wondering what's going on. They had to keep calling and they wouldn't get phone calls back. So communication is very, very important. It sets a good foundation for your relationship with your client. Also, what you got to do at the beginning too is set the expectations of your communication. A couple things with that. One is find out how they like to be communicated with. For example, do they want emails? Do they want phone calls? Do they want text messages? Always try to communicate in a way that they're comfortable with. And then you set the expectations. Say, okay, there's no one way of doing it. You can say, I'm going to be calling you every Friday, give you an update. I'm going to call you every Monday to give you an update. A lot of agents like to do the updates after the weekend because generally that's when most of the activity takes place. A little bit different in our environment right now, but always have these standards set up front. And that way they know what to expect. And a couple things with that, when you say you're going to do something and you follow through and do it, it demonstrates your professionalism and it enhances your credibility. For example, if you say that, oh yeah, I'll get back to you by the end of the day, you better do it, because you never want to overpromise. The key is underpromise and overdeliver. At least deliver on the expectations that you set, but if you can always go above, that's going to set you apart. Any questions so far? So one of the things that they also want to touch on is a team. If you have a team, you got to, I kind of touched on this a little while ago, is make sure that all the team members know what your standards are, because you don't want somebody that's not going to be upholding your level of service if you have somebody do something for you. And so when you're working with a team, and it doesn't just mean a real estate team, it could be your team, and team could be your group of the lender, the title company, the escrow officer, the inspectors you use. All these people, you got to make sure that they have the same level of service that you expect. And they have to have a good mindset, same mindset. They have to be able to take care of your clients and be just as professional and courteous to them as you are. So be picky on who you work with. There was I can't remember the big company, but the owner of this big company was being interviewed one day. And they asked him, how do you get your people to be so nice? All of your employees are so nice. How did you do that? And he says, well, I hired nice people. So moral of the story is, don't try to, just because somebody can do a good job, but if they don't have a good attitude, they don't have the same mindset, you're not going to be able to change them. So look for somebody else that does a good job, that has a good mindset, that matches yours, that takes customer service just as seriously as you do. Any comments, any questions?
No.
All right, so as we continue now for marketing, of course, marketing is one of the main reasons that people hire a realtor, because they always say, well, what are you going to do to market my home? What are you going to do to sell my home? So once again, just like your standard of service, you also have to have a marketing plan, a detailed marketing plan. What is it that you're going to do? Be able to just go down and have this is nothing you have to memorize, because you're going to have a list of things you do, and you're going to talk to the people or your clients and let them know that the marketing is going to consist of A, B, C, D, and down the line. And also let them know that this is everything that we do. Not every property is going to require or be the right fit for all these items. We're going to use the most effective method of marketing the property for this type of property. Because there's certain ones that if you say, oh, and this is not in today's environment because of COVID-19, but if you say, well, I'm going to knock on all the doors in the neighborhood, that's not going to be good for a country home that where every neighbor's about a mile apart. Just, so not everything needs to be done on every property. But do have a list of all the different things you can do. Are you gonna do mailers? Are you gonna send out email blasts? Are you gonna do ads? Are you gonna do Facebook posts? Are you gonna do virtual tours, virtual open homes? So all these things you should have listed out. And also what you might want to start doing too is, just like we're doing right now, the PowerPoint, you can do online or virtual listing presentations. So have a listing presentation ready to go, and you can just click like exactly what we're doing here right now. So also they're saying have a marketing message, and what are the methods of getting it out? You got to have something that's going to attract attention. Sometimes you just say, okay, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, that's for sale. They hear that a lot. But if there's something unique about the home, something that you can say that stands out, you got to grab people's attention. Maybe instead of a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, you can say, hey, you're home with a backyard paradise waiting for you. Something that is out of the ordinary. Get a message that draws attention, and you got to know how to get it out. And that's what I was just talking about. For example, we do ads on Facebook, we do the posts, and then we boost it. You can do it on Twitter, you can do it on Instagram, all these different methods of getting it out there. The other thing too is you can set up your network. Get your doctor, your dentist, your landscaper, your contractor, your painter, your attorney, your tax person, all these people that you can create a network with and refer each other business, and you can market it to your network as well. Of course, your database and any potential buyers that you know of that are looking for a home that could be a good fit. So you got to have a method to get the word out. And this talks about managing a marketing budget. Today, it's a lot better than it was in the past. Sometimes you would have to buy ads in a magazine or a newspaper because that's what was demanded by a lot of the sellers. Today, you can do probably 10 times the marketing on Facebook and all these different social platforms for a fraction of the cost that we used to have to pay in the old days. Because I mean, there was some real estate magazines, and for a page, just one page, I mean, there's a nice ad and a full page ad, it was about $1,500. It was crazy. You can spend now just $10 a day and get more exposure than that. So thank goodness for technology, huh?
Hey, Randy, I have a question.
Sure.
Just from your experience, what do you find your sellers, when you're kind of putting your marketing plan together, what do you think is most important for them? Like, how do they want you to market their home?
Well, that'll vary from one property to the next and from one seller to the next. I'm working with some high-tech people right now, and so they expect a lot of online stuff. They expect to see the 3D walkthrough tours. They expect to see it on all the public real estate websites, which is something that happens anyways. But they expect a lot of high-tech stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And senior citizen, they're gonna probably have a whole different concern. And they may, of course, we're still gonna do it because we're gonna have a standard, service standard. And we're gonna have certain things that we're gonna do no matter what. But you may have to focus on something different. Say, along with all the online ads that we're going to be doing, the Facebook posts and all this, and they may not even know what you're talking about. You can say, well, we're going to be mailing out postcards to all your neighbors, and we're going to let everybody in this area know that your home is for sale.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll make them feel a whole lot better than if you say I'm going to do an ad on Twitter, I'm going to do it on Facebook, and they may not know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But one of the things is before you even get to that point though, when you're doing your pre-qual for the listing appointment,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to ask, what is it that you expect from the agent that you hire?
Yeah.
And they'll give you ideas on how to prepare for your listing appointment. And a lot of times they're just going to say, well, I want to know what you're going to do to get my home sold. And
Mm-hmm.
then the other real common question or statement is, well, how much do you charge?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two very common ones you get on a cold, call that, I don't mean a cold call, but I mean just before you get the relationship going, before the appointment. Those are the questions in the statement that they normally make.
Yeah. So you're still seeing it varies pretty widely.
It varies on their industry.
Yeah.
It varies on their age. It's not like every age, like every decade. It's just
Yeah.
like the people that are maybe 70, 80, they're not into computers. They're not into most of them probably not into the high-tech stuff.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's going to depend on what they do for a living. I mean, if you're like, I'm dealing with high-tech people, they expect high-tech marketing
Mm-hmm.
and high-tech communication, calendars, everything online.
Yeah.
So you just got to know who your audience is.
Yeah. Okay.
Communicate with them the way they want to be communicated with.
Cool.
So I need to ask, you said, they ask you how much you will charge them. Do you charge for the marketing that you do for certain homes that you're?
No, they're asking about how much do you charge in commission.
Oh, okay.
And most of the stuff will be included. The reason why I say most of it, because sometimes if it makes sense, the staging will be included in the commission. Sometimes the seller will pay for the staging.
I see.
Okay, so whenever they ask, what do you charge? It's the commission they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and next topic is staging. Staging is something that, I think I went too fast on the pages here. But staging is something that we want to make sure that we can get done because it does make a difference. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult because if the people live there, they have pets, it's very difficult to get a staging company to take their furniture into that environment. But if it's a vacant home, definitely get it staged. If it's occupied home, there's certain stages that will come in and do certain things. A lot of times they'll help decorate. They'll bring in accessories and paintings and mirrors and different decorations to make the property look better. And they can give tips on, well, we should probably get this big couch out of here and take this big chair out, put it in the garage. That way it makes the living room look bigger. So staging is very, very good to get the market or the home sold at a higher price. And a lot of times people say, well, I don't want to do the staging. And this is when on a lower price property where there's not a whole lot of commission, you don't want to pay for the staging in that case because it's going to take a big chunk out of your commission on a lower price home. But you have to let them know that on average, your property will sell for about maybe 5-10% higher than if it's not staged. So you may spend $2,000, $2,500 for the staging, but you're going to make an extra $10,000 to $15,000. Does that make sense? And you just got to make sure they understand that it is a benefit. It's not really an expense for them. It's an investment. They're investing into their product to make it better and get a higher price. If you got a $1 million listing, you know you're going to make a lot of money on it, then it's, you know, you can pay for the staging yourself. I mean, that's an individual decision, agent by agent. People that work different ways. But that is the main thing. Is if it's, let's say you're selling something in the valley, the property is only $300,000. You're not going to want to spend $2,500 out of your commission on that type of a transaction. Make sense?
I have actually a question. Since we can't do open homes now and we're doing virtual touring, what do you think of virtual staging? I think that costs less, and anyways, people are not really there to see for real the staging that you have done.
Yeah, that is a good option. It is a lot less. I don't know the pricing on it, but it is a good option. But when the people get to the house, because even though they may not be at the house originally, they're going to see the house.
Sure.
Because homes are being shown. I mean, I've shown the listing in Willow Glen. I had about 30 people over the course of the listing. I talked to an agent that I'm working with. He brought the buyer in for it, and they're selling their home. They had about 20 people over the weekend. So people are still coming in to look at homes. There's not an open house, but they make appointments and people are coming in. So if they see online, oh, that looks really nice, and then they get there and the house is just vacant, it's empty, it's a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, but staging is not, it's giving idea of what the house can look like if you choose to, you know, get it together the way you are suggesting. And that's exactly what you're doing in virtual staging, because you're not leaving those staged homes with the furniture and the way they are seeing it. You know, they are gonna take the house empty and they will have to work on it to make it look the way they wish it to be.
Yeah,
Right?
I know
So
what you're
what's that
saying, but if we look at the big picture and we take a look at a majority of the people, the buying decision is an emotional one. And if they walk in and they feel good about what they see,
I see.
they're gonna be more likely to make a better offer. But you're right, there's gonna be those people that they're gonna say, well, I don't care about the staging, I don't care, I'm looking at the bedrooms, I'm looking at the layout. So you get that too, but a majority of the people will feel better when they see a home that is staged. And these are not me making it up. This is numbers that come out of studies that have been done by CAR and NAR. And they have seen, and I think it's about 5% higher on average. So if you're looking at 5% of $1 million, that's quite a bit higher. So that would be what, $50,000? Or whatever it is. It's very profitable to do the staging. And then of course, pricing. Pricing is key. You got to know how to price the property.
Randy, sorry, I got to add something, please.
Go ahead.
Before you go on to pricing, pricing is definitely a key. So just wanted to add a couple things with the staging for everybody on this class. Don't think of staging just as inside the house. It starts from when you drive up. So everything has to be, the whole goal is have things neat, clean, and bright. So some homes, it depends on our clients. Now, some homes we might not be able to stage as much as we'd like, but the biggest thing is making things at least as clean as possible. I don't want to get into too much depth, but I just wanted to say it's not just inside. The other thing, I did do virtual staging on some of the rooms in my last few listings. If you guys want go on the listings, we can have a contest if you can pick which rooms were virtually staged. It was super important to me that it was it didn't show like it was unnatural. So the virtual staging, great option. It ranges, but average is $29 a photo. And Randy was correct that it does enhance a home. And the most important thing that it does, the presence on the internet, because people will even decide to consider it or not just by the photos. So photos are super important. Our internet presence, our marketing is all internet right now, and it's going to be from here on out. So we have to have a strong presence when we hit the market with our photos. So that's all I just wanted to add.
Well, that's good information. I hadn't even looked into pricing on virtual staging yet, but that's not bad. Not bad at all. It is a good option if you can't get the actual staging. Okay, where are we?
Pricing.
Well, I know where I'm pricing, but I'm trying to get
Oh.
the notes, where I'm at in the notes.
I don't know. That I can't help you.
I forgot to flip the pages. Okay, so yes, pricing. Pricing is key. Pricing is very important, and pricing is going to be determined a lot on the which way the market is going. You have a appreciating market, you have a declining market, you have a plateau market. So it's critical in a declining market, you got to have good pricing, and you have to explain it to the sellers. You have to show the trend, and you can print out a graph of showing the average sales price over the past year or 6 months, whatever. And if they see the line going down, they know it's not you just making things up, because this is data from the MLS. So you got to price properly. You got to price what we call ahead of the market. If you're in a declining market and say the CMA comes out where, okay, today's value is 800,000. If you price it at 800,000, by the time you get the home on the market, get an offer, that market could have declined to where now it's only worth 775. And now you're not getting any offers. And so you drop it down to 775, and then by that time, the actual value would be 750. That's what you call chasing the market. So you got to price ahead of the market. So if it's in a declining market, say, okay, today we'll probably get 800,000 if we're ready today. But if they're going to take a week to get ready, you may want to price it at 750. Because by the time you get offers come in, that might be what the property actually is worth. Very important to know how to explain this to the sellers. Now, in a market that's flat, it's not too critical about pricing ahead because you're not sure which way the market's going to go. So then, yeah, you just price it based on what your CMA says, what your analysis comes out to. Then you can price it maybe a little bit below just to get the interest going. In an appreciating market, no matter what you do in like a market we had in 2018, it didn't matter where you priced it, the property sold. And so it's not a big deal in an appreciating market because you can either price it low to create the multiple offers and it's going to sell. You can price it right at the current market and it's going to sell. You can even price it high and it'll still sell in that type of market. That was a very unique market. It's not always like that. When we're not in that type of market, you have to be very careful on how you price. Because when we came out of that big frenzied market, people were still putting a low list price to generate the multiple offers, but they weren't getting them. And so now everybody the buyers started having a different mindset, and they said, oh, well, We don't have to compete. We don't have to go in over. And then they would offer at your list price, which you thought was a teaser price, but now that became the price you're getting offers at. So you can't do the strategy of a very low price to get multiple offers in a market that's not really appreciating. So be careful of that. And there was several homes that had that happen. They were just thinking it was going to last forever. And us as agents, we can, and this is before shelter in place, but we can get an idea where the market's going based on open house activity, the number of offers coming in. If we start seeing that slow down, then we know the market is starting to slow down. It's kind of like a hint. This activity is giving us a hint of which way the market is going. Okay, so very important pricing, and be able to explain the reason for the pricing that you're talking about with your clients. Make sense?
I have a question. What's
Sure.
what's the period that normally it takes to sell a correct priced house in a certain market?
That varies from market to market. Here in San Jose area, it depends on the market condition. For example, the market I was talking about in 2018, if a home sat in the market for over a week, everybody thinks there's something wrong with it. Today, if it sits on the market over 3 weeks, people start looking at it, okay, there must be something wrong, or it's way overpriced. So it's going to vary from market condition to market condition. And it's also going to vary on the type of product you have. If you have a good price product that's perfect condition, well, maybe close to perfect, no such thing as perfect, it's going to sell quick, especially with low inventory. So that's going to be one of the big determining factors is the inventory. If you have very low inventory, for example, right now we have low inventory, low interest rates, so that creates lots of buyers. They're not flying off the shelf like they were in our past booming market, but things are still moving rather quickly. And so what you got to do is when you go into a property, go into a listing, you want to study the area. For example, in the Willow Glen one, I studied all the similar homes that have recently sold and the ones on the market in Willow Glen, and not just all Willow Glen, but in the price range and the type of home in certain areas. So I was able to find out, okay, for this type of home in Willow Glen, it was averaging 17 days on the market. And so that is a very good thing to do because you can go into the MLS and go into the stats and you can get average days on the market for specific areas. Okay, so I mean, that's something that another class we can do sometime is how to do stats and how to research the area. So there's no one answer to your question about how long does it take, because it depends on the market condition. It depends on how nice the house is, how it's priced. But right now, on average, I didn't look at the whole Santa Clara County, but in Willow Glen, the average days on market went up to about 27 days. And this was based on a week and a half ago when we got the offer. So it changes. And that's why you have to stay on top of the activity, stay on top of the stats, do your research, make it a daily habit of researching on the MLS. Okay.
One more question. Regarding pricing, do you compare the homes to get the right price on a house with all the improvements that that people have made to their homes, or just area, square footage, neighborhood, schooling, and so on?
Well, there's quite a bit that you have to look at. Of course, those last few things you said are important: the area, the size, the square footage. The condition also matters, because if somebody has an old kitchen, the house is exactly the same house, but this house A has an old kitchen from the 80s, and house B has a brand new remodeled kitchen, that house is gonna bring in a lot more on the offer. The other thing you have to look at too is the location. The location is important because you may have the exact same house in the same neighborhood, but one is in the middle of the block, nice and quiet, and the other house is on the corner of a busy street. And that's gonna make a difference as well. You may have the exact same house, exact same part of the street. One has a view, one doesn't. So you gotta look at all these things. And what you wanna do is find out what are the nice features on this home. And all these features on my home make my home better than that home because I have this, this, and this. This home doesn't. So once you kind of get the average for that type of home, that condition, then you start looking at the additional features it has. And the additional features that it has, the ones that are important are the ones that the next home cannot duplicate. For example, you can't get off that busy corner. You can't make a view if you don't have a view. I mean, you have a view of the neighborhood, but you don't have a view of the valley.
Going back to that last question on average days, I just looked it up real quick. For Santa Clara County, for single family homes, June it was 7 days, and July so far it's 16 days.
16, you said?
Yeah, that's so far as 16 is average.
Okay. It's good to know these facts for the county because it's a talking point. But when you're talking to a client about their home, you want to make sure you zero in on their neighborhood. And the way you got that, you can do it in any specific area. Any other questions, comments? So a little bit more on the pricing. Very important to know the comps. And that's why it's very, it's a little bit more difficult now, but it's good to preview the other homes in the neighborhood. If you know you're going to have a listing appointment and you know that there's other homes for sale in the neighborhood, try to go look at them. The best thing to do is that's because sometimes it's hard to tell on the pictures, on the virtual tours. Sometimes it looks so nice, but it's because they had a good photographer. So it's good to get there and see the actual home yourself. And that way you can really compare apples to apples when you go into this listing appointment. And the big thing that, for example, the one I had in Willow Glen right now, that one is a super nice home, but it had a drawback. It was a small kitchen. And the pictures will look great, but that was the #1 reason why we took so long to sell, was because we had to find that one buyer that didn't mind a small kitchen. So even though the house is nicer than most of the other ones, people wanted a big open kitchen, open to the living area. This one did not have that. So a lot of things you have to take into account when you're pricing property. And the more information you have, the easier it is to present your price and your recommendation to the seller. One of the things I like to do is ask them, well, what do you think the home is worth? And most of the time they'll have an idea because people nowadays are online, they're looking, they're getting an idea. Sometimes they're close, sometimes they're way off, but at least you know what they're thinking. And I like to do that before the listing presentation. When I'm making the appointment, I ask a few different questions. One of them is like the one I mentioned before, what is it you're going to looking for in an agent that you hire? Another one is what do you think the home is worth? And I have them describe the home to me. So now I have a good idea of what I'm walking into. Make sense? Anybody have anything to add? Any other questions? If not, in a few seconds, I will move on.
I have a comment.
Okay.
Hey, listen, for people that are out there and they're looking at property valuations, it's very important that people pay attention to pricing segmentation. And the reason I say that is because if you're in the San Jose area and you're trying to sell a property, you're trying to buy a property with multiple offers, and the striking price is between about $750,000 and about $1.3 million. That market is so remarkably hot, it's just crazy. But as you get up to the higher price levels, so if you're doing a CMA in a particular area, you should pay real special attention if you've got a wide spread in the cost per square foot, and take a drive through the neighborhood so you actually understand that someone may have had a major remodel and someone else didn't do anything, and then someone spent $1,000 a foot on a brand new construction. So price segmentation will help you provide what your clients are looking for. It's perspective, understanding and perspective.
Yeah, very, very true. That's why I said, if you can, go look at these other homes on the market before you go to the listing presentation. And that's called previewing. And that's one of our things that, as a real estate agent, that's one of the things we should be doing anyways. Not as easy as it was, but it's still, you can do it. You send in the PED and you're set. You can go look at it, set the appointment. One of the other things too that creates a big price spread is when you're in a neighborhood with all custom homes. Because you can have the same size home in the same neighborhood, but one is a custom built home that has all the updates, the landscaping, the pool, and the other one is never been updated. So very good point. Go and check it out before you get too far into trying to come up with a price. All right, so that's, I guess, not everything on pricing, but it kind of gives you an idea what to think about. The next section is called problem resolution. Okay, we're in a business that has a lot of entities involved, a lot of variables. So we're not in a perfect world. So there's likely that there could be an issue or a problem or something that pops up during an escrow. Don't look at a problem as a real negative, because it is an opportunity to come up with a solution, become the problem solver, and make yourself look good. It's also an opportunity to learn. And then you can hopefully prevent that same issue from coming up in the future. And that's one of the things that I talk about when they say, well, why should we hire you? I said, well, one of the things is I've been through so many transactions. I've seen just about every problem you can imagine. And we've been able to get through them. And because of that, now I can foresee a potential problem and we can address it, fix it, or maybe reduce the chance of it becoming a problem from the very beginning. And that is key. And so that's one of the things I talk about, why they should hire me. But here, what they're wanting to do is they give some guidelines for problem solving. Number one, they're saying focus on the facts, not the emotions. Focus on the issues, not the personalities. So my thing on that one is stay calm. Very important, you got to stay calm. You don't ever want to call a client when you're panicking or worried. If an issue comes up, calm down. If you can solve it, great. If you don't know what to do, get help. There's a lot of people in this company that are willing to help. You have your team leader, you have the broker, you have other experienced agents that have very likely may have had the same issue in the past. So stay calm, get the facts. Don't look at emotions. Don't let other emotional people that are panicking, don't let it get to you. You want to make sure that you stay calm, because think about it. If you're on a flight and you see the attendants, they're panicking, how's that going to make you feel? You don't want to see your flight attendant panicking, especially the pilot. So our job is to stay calm. Just relax. Things work out. Things will always work out one way or another. Everything happens for a reason. So remember that. Stay calm. Another point that they bring up is, apologize that something came up. Even if it's not your fault, apologize for this issue coming up. Sorry, this is happening. We're going to fix it. Okay? Make sure that you validate their concern. Say, yes, I understand your concern. This is something that we need to figure out. Another one says, own it. If it's something that you or your team, something that slipped through the cracks and it was your fault, this is where you got to own it. You say, I'm sorry, I did whatever or didn't do whatever. And this goes against what I normally say, because I always say, and this is right here, but normally I'm always talking about use the words we, us, and our to create the environment that we're all on the same team. So I always talk to my clients in a way that it's we can get this done. We can make this work. We can get you into Granite Bay before school starts. And our offer looks good. Our marketing is good. So use those terms to create the environment of, hey, we're a team. Don't say, I will get this done. Say, we can get this done. And it makes them feel good. Maybe not every time, but it's just a habit of mine, and that's what I do. And it usually creates a good relationship. And then what you want, go ahead.
Randy, can I add a little something just
Absolutely, absolutely.
just to share a little experience? Now, your slide is still at marketing. What category are we?
Well, this is, I don't know,
Still-
there's not very many slides in this presentation.
Oh, okay. So it's still kind of under category of marketing. Okay. What I wanted to add to what Randy already shared was, and I learned this from my first broker, because I would go to him and I'd say, hey, you know, this is happening and blah, blah, blah. And he said, okay, Yvonne, your job is just a matter of fact. So when you call your clients, oh, but before I say that, what I'd like to say is there's a lot of behind the scenes happening, a ton. Lee, I haven't met you officially yet, but hi, I'm Yvonne. You've had numerous years experience. Randy, you had extreme amount of experience. Don't we do like a ton of stuff? Our clients don't even have any idea of what we do, right?
Very true.
Okay, so that's part of it for all our newer agents who are just starting and going to be getting their license. So there's a ton of work that we do behind the scenes, and that's crucial. That's a sign of a good agent, that before we go to our clients and whatever the case may be, whether there's an issue that has arisen, let's just say something. So we've already thought about it, we've discussed it, we've gone to our mentor or our let's see, whoever you're going to talk it out with, and then you go with solutions. What I learned from my broker, he said, you know, Yvonne, there's no emotion. Randy said that. It's just a matter of fact. So I would go to Randy, he's my client. Hi, Randy, how are you today? Just want to give you an update. The appraisal came in and it came in under list price. And he's my seller. It came in under purchase price. So we're going to be waiting to hear what the buyers want to do. And then, you know, I would go over a little bit of a scenario, and then we'll just wait to see what they'd like to do, and then we'll take it from there. So it's just we're just giving a matter of fact. We don't put our emotion, because trust me, we get emotional, but we don't want to bring that to the table. Because if we're flustered, like, oh my God, the agent, I can't believe that agent, they are just driving me crazy. I've never worked with an agent, anything like that. I mean, how do you think our clients are going to feel, right? And plus, code of ethics, we're not supposed to talk bad about any agent, period. That is part of our code of ethics. And that's super important to me. So just wanted to add that.
Okay. Lee, did you have something?
Yeah, you know, when you are going out to a presentation, it's important that you're able to convey two things, not only competence and understanding the market, but you want to make sure that if you don't have the experience, that your team has the experience. And do explain to your clients, not in a direct way, but in a commentary way about the fact that of the research you've done, because real estate agents have to be a lot of things, and that includes being a psychic and a therapist. But at the end of the day, we have to be closers. You have to get them to lean on the pin. So you have to develop a real relationship. You're going to have to build one of trust, because at the end, here's what may happen. Fees may go up. Unexpected things will happen. What they're looking for you is to be the cap of the ship and be calm and tell them also where to sign. So we're going to wear three different hats as good salespeople or successful business people. And there's no question we can impress people by being a bit of a psychic, but you've got to be a therapist. But at the end of the day, please remember, you got to be a closer and make sure they sign on the dotted line. If you got difficulty with that, reach out to all the support services you have at Keller Williams. They'll help you through the process, but never show them that you're sweating. Make sure that if you can take a moment, go get the advice that you need. And ideally, you would have gone through the scenarios with your support services, with your staff, with your mentors about what you're going to say, so they can do a dry run. So the day that you get there, you're not ad-libbing this. In fact, they can become the devil's advocate and say, well, what if I say your commission's too high? What if I say you're asking me to sell my house for too little? What happens if we don't have anybody at the open house? Prepare yourself for those kind of scenarios with someone else and make sure you're bouncing that off management, because here's what happens. When the opportunity strikes, you have no time for preparation. When the opportunity strikes, you have to be ready to go. And when it happens, you don't have to be overly excited. It's going to be a matter of business. You can be excited for the client, but what that client is looking for is reassurance, a trusted advisor that they are willing now to trust a bit more, someone who's a little prophetic, and you might tell them, especially if they're millennials, what the process takes up front, because millennials like to hear how the bread is baked and when it gets sliced and when it becomes toast early on in the process. So you can tell them it's going to be about 30 days. There may be some issues. We'll overcome them because each one is unique, as every house is unique on a block. And so what you can tell them about this is that you have the support tools and the services and the people behind you to make sure this happens smoothly for them.
Good point. So one of the other things they have on the list here is ask lots of questions. Try to find out what the root of the problem is. What caused this issue to come up? And that also goes along with talking to different people. Get help from your mentor, manager, broker, team leader, whoever it is that you need to talk to. Get some help. If you know how to solve it, it's an easy fix, then fine. But if it's something you're not familiar with, something that you just don't know what to do, reach out for help. Don't wing it. Try to come up with some solutions that will help, that will fix the problem, or at least get you through the problem. Have those prepared and how that you're going to present that. And then once you guys figure out what you're going to do, get on it and fix it quick. Now, here's something that happened to me a while back. And this is the part about staying calm, getting the facts, finding out what's going on before you yourself becoming emotional. So I had a property I was selling, and it's been in their family for 60 years. The mom handed it down to the kids. The kids finally decided to sell it. The brother lived next door. The sister lived in the subject property. So the brother was adamant about not selling it to anybody that's going to tear it down and put a big giant monster house next to him, because these were big lots and that's what he was afraid of. So I told him, well, you know what? We're going to market it and try to find a buyer that's not going to do that. But at the end of the day, I have no control over what the new owner is going to do, because legally they can do that. But we're going to try to find that buyer that's going to just be happy with his home. So we sold it to a contractor, and he was one that flips properties. So he was going to go in and remodel it. But when he does a remodel, if the lot's big enough, he adds on 500 square feet. And that's kind of like his cookie cutter process. 500 square feet is a super easy permit to get. And for some reason, the brother was under the impression that this contractor was going to tear down the home. And this is before escrow closed. We're in the middle of the process, and they were supposed to come in and sign something. I don't remember what it was, but the brother was extremely mad, telling people off as he's walking through the parking lot. I meet them in the lobby, and he's just fuming. He won't even shake my hand. So I said, okay, just come on in the conference room, let's talk. So what happened was they were sitting there, the brother and the sister. And I said, okay, so Mike, what is it that has you upset? And he went into, you told me they weren't going to tear this house down. I never said that they were. Well, Fran said they're going to tear the house down. She goes, I never said that. And he goes, you didn't? No, I never said that. And so he was mad and going crazy over something that never even happened. So fortunately, I was able to stay calm and everything was figured out and we all laughed about it. So that's why I say stay calm, because if I would have got mad too because he was mad at me, that could have been a horrible situation. So these points that they're pointing out here are very, very good. I mean, stay calm, look at the facts. Don't get emotional. True story. I thought he was going to punch me that day. All right. Any other stories? Any experiences like that, Lee?
So, you know, every escrow is unique, just like every property is. In fact, it's my opinion that the entire real estate market globally is made up of micro markets. And if you want to see the truth of that, next time you go home, walk around your block and take a look at the different cost per square footage on each house. So when you begin to deal with somebody who's upset, as it's been mentioned by this instructor, and it's an excellent point, make sure that you drill down past the emotions and finally get to what's really bothering them. And what you're going to find out is that if you're able to do that problem analysis and provide a solution, especially if you do it early on, when someone is starting to build up the steam about it, they're going to realize that you came with a level-headed solution, a different perspective, a different way of looking at something, and maybe it's not as injurious. I have to tell you that the issue that you're having where a seller says, I don't want this kind of a buyer, and I don't want that kind of a buyer, that's very tricky and sometimes quite difficult to do. And you've got to explain to people at the end, this is really about money. It's about equity. It's about the improvement in their life to the next property that they're going on to. So sometimes if you find somebody who's really stuck on the current circumstance in the current business, talk to them in your discovery, find out where the greater need was for the thing that he's going to go do, and start kind of reorienting his perspective on the goal that he's going to achieve rather than the process that he must complete.
Yeah, that's a good point. You always want to point them in the direction of where they're going, their goal, their retirement, the golf community they're going to. Get them focused on the positive and get them motivated to move forward. It's a little bit more difficult in this case I just told you about because he was still going to be living there next to that property. But everything worked out fine. The contractor actually did the remodel, added the 500 square feet and resold it. And he made a good chunk of money on it. But anyways, like I said, in the end, everybody was happy. Where are we going next with this? Well, basically we covered all the material. So it just wants to talk about what are some of the major points that stood out today. Anybody want to jump in and say something that, hey, that was a good point? Anything at all?
I'd say just the advice you gave, stay calm and reach out to the resources we have before just jumping to conclusions.
Very important thing. Yeah, stay calm. And believe me, there's a lot of people that are willing to help. One of the other things that Lee was mentioning, that there's a lot of different variables involved, and it's not just different types of homes, different type of seller. You also have a lot of people involved. You have the escrow officer, you have the inspectors, you have the lender, you have the appraiser, you have reps that work, you have the home warranty people, the title reps that can sometimes help a little bit. Then you have who knows what the sellers or the buyer's going to be like. If you're working on the listing, you don't know what type of buyer you're going to end up with. You're going to look at the offer, say, hey, this is a good solid offer, but you don't know what that buyer is like. So there's so many variables, so many entities, so many different people involved that's why you're rarely ever going to find two transactions exactly the same. There's too many variables involved for that to happen. And that's why it's good to reach out to somebody that's been through it a lot if you ever need help, because it's very likely there's going to be somebody there that says, oh yeah, I've been through this. This is how we fix it. Not a problem. I'll help you. Yvonne, did you have something?
Oh, let's see. What would I like to add? Let's see. Come back to me. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I saw you unmuted yourself. I thought you had something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I probably did, but then I had to walk away real quick. I'll come back to me, please, Randy.
Okay, you got it. Ellison, anything stand out to you today?
I just like like I asked you what you think your sellers want most. I think it's just important to keep in mind that everybody's going to have a different thing, and just be really aware of what those things are. And if they don't say it like outright, just kind of understanding what they would need based on other things.
Yeah, that's why it's good to have a good pre-qual before you go to the appointment. Ask them what it is they're looking for in an agent. Ask them what they think the home's worth. Ask them what are they expecting. and get as much information as possible. And this way, when you get there, you can have your presentation geared towards what their wants and needs are.
Yeah.
Randy, I'm back.
Okay, Yvonne.
Okay, what I wanted to share with our newer agents is that when we first start off, it's a learning process. But I commend you that you're in these classes. They will all help. Until you get into your transaction, that's where you're going to start learning. And it's step by step. And all this is it's good upfront homework to prepare you overall. You're going to have a big picture. Through all our KW is just phenomenal with the education and training. And Randy touched on it, that when you are going through your transactions, you're going to have your support group, whoever that might be, whoever you have decided that you want to lean on for assistance. And it's exciting. The business it's exciting, and we stay positive, and we just step by step. So all this that you're learning through this Win with Sellers training, which is a what is it, four-day class, it's good to make notes and follow up. And do you guys all have the guide by chance? Did you guys download the manual?
I didn't download it.
Does anybody need the manual?
The manual for this class?
Yeah,
Or the whole course?
for the whole course. I think there's 8, 9 chapters. Yeah. Does anybody need it?
I do.
I do. Can you post it in the chat?
Oh, I don't know how to do that. How do I do that? So I have the PDF. How do I post it?
Well, it looks like the chat's disabled. I don't know if Randy can activate it.
You can put a link in there to the PDF.
Oh, Lee, how do I do that?
Oh, I'm actually on my phone. I normally do this. Let me see if I can send it over to you. I have one last comment, and that is for those that are new. The thing is, what they're looking for is your experience. If you don't have that, get a hold of your support staff so they can build that up. But they also want to know about your market knowledge. And the last thing you need to show them is your proven marketing process. And you can lean on Keller Williams. Its statistics are excellent, and there's few companies that can compete with them. But make sure you know that story inside and out should they ask you, because what they're looking for is that's going to be part of your experience. So once you go through this process, and you can dry run this thing to the point where you can sound like you've been doing this forever. But what happens with some people, even experienced agents, is they don't pay attention to those 3 areas. The very first thing is you got to have some experience. But the second thing is your marketing knowledge may be that you need to go visit the last 10 properties that sold and the last 10 properties that went up for sale. What happened? If you're a green pea and you want to impress somebody, they can say, well, our house should be worth $900 a foot, and say, yeah, but the house right behind you, the Ellises, did you know them? Okay. They tried to get 900, but they got 825, but they needed that bathroom remodel. You probably knew that they had struggled on a bathroom remodel for years. And then the Andersons across the street, they spent $30,000 just on the driveway. Now, when you start naming names in a presentation about who lives around their house, what they sold for, and the conditions, believe me, they're not going to know that you're a green pea. They're going to think you've been working that neighborhood, because you're going to demonstrate 3 things at once. The first thing is you're going to demonstrate your marketing knowledge. In that, there's the implication of your experience. Even if you're a green pea, you go visit 10 properties that sold, 10 properties up for sale, believe me, you will be an expert in that neighborhood. And the last thing is you have to go over your proven marketing skill and document the process that you use to make sure that all of the Keller Williams sellers, almost all of them, are always successful in achieving their goals. And so when you get that part down, when you go to the listing, even if you're up against a Coldwell Banker or someone like me, it's been involved for decades, you will do very well. And the odds are that the other agents won't pay attention, because experienced agents, even though they know the basics, sometimes go off track a little. But what people are impressed by is people that know the basics very, very well.
Very good point. And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is to preview the properties, preview what's going on
Sure.
on the ones that are for sale, find out how long they've been on the market. Talk to the agents too. If you see a market or a property that's been on the market for 60 days and it's never had an offer, call the agent, get some feedback. Say, hey, tell me about your listing on whatever street. And it's helped. Believe me, when you call agents, most of the time they're going to give you information. They may not give you every detail, but we're always happy to talk to agents. So I've talked to another agent that had a listing on the same street, and we were communicating back and forth on how our activity has been. So agents are always willing to talk. And on the pendings, always talk to the agents that have a pending sale. And sometimes you can get the price range that it actually sold for. If it's a new listing, or sorry, a new sale, they may not want to give you the information because it's just too early. The contingencies are still in place. But if it's something where it's been in escrow for 3 weeks, contingencies are removed, more than likely you're going to get an idea of what that home actually sold for. And so when you are talking to your potential clients at the listing appointment, and they say, well, that home was listed at $900,000, and you can tell them, but it didn't sell for that much. That was the asking price. This is about how much it actually sold for. And so now you come out very knowledgeable because you know what happened before it's even finished. Okay, so always do that. Call up the agents that have a pending listing before you go too much into pricing. It's going to help you tremendously.
Oh, it's not able.
Oh, here's one thing that I wanted to share with you guys too, is when you're trying to get your home sold. For example, I had the average 1,800 square feet, 4-bedroom, 2-bath in Willow Glen. So what I did is I did a search for all the people in Willow Glen that are selling a condo. And so I blasted all those agents, and I said, hey, if your condo seller is looking to stay in Willow Glen, I have a great listing for them. So I had that batch go out to all what I was thinking, well, maybe they're a move-up buyer, they want to stay in Willow Glen. And then also I did that similar email to people that were in a smaller house, maybe 1,000 or 1,100 square feet, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And I told them about my 4.2 that's over 1,800 square feet on a good sized lot. So if your seller's looking to stay in Willow Glen, just get a little bit bigger house. Here's a great house for them. And so that's another way to target market, looking for buyers, because you never know. Maybe that buyer or that seller of that condo or the smaller home could be a perfect fit. So that's one thing that I started doing, and I did get some responses. I mean, the buyer didn't come from there, but still, I mean, it's another thing you can do. That this is what I do. This is another thing that not too many agents do, but this is what I do. So add it to your list of marketing techniques.
Hey,
All right.
Zach, what is your email? I don't have it.
Why don't you just type it into the comment or the chat.
The chat box isn't working for some
Yeah,
reason.
it's not enabled.
Oh, do I have to do that?
I don't know, honey.
Did I? Well, I'm not a master at this Zoom.
Well, my email, Yvonne, is zacharyw@kw.com.
Okay, I'm going to send it to you right now. Zachary W. Does anybody else need the manual?
Lee needs it.
Who?
Lee.
Oh, okay. Lee, what is your email?
I am a green pea. I'm just going through my onboarding, so I really don't have a sign on yet with Keller Williams. We just signed the contracts over the weekend, so I won't have anything, but I will need something. But I've been involved with real estate for 40 years and done a lot of different things.
All right.
You know.
What office are you in, Lee?
I am with Gateway. I'm with
Oh,
Laura.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
welcome.
We
virtual welcome.
we should be doing some great things here because it's a great company, and I've looked at the company for a long time before I made this decision.
Amen. Amen. We're happy and blessed to have you join us.
That's great.
Zachary, can you let me know if you got it, please?
Sure thing. I'll take a look.
Okay.
Well, Lee, if you signed up with us, just because Laura sent out an email with the the attachments. Does she have an email for you now?
Oh, I think I could just call Renee. I can handle it offline.
Oh, there you go. You got it. Renee will do it.
You don't have to worry about that. But I think that for everybody involved, especially if there's green peas or people that are starting from different careers, the thing that people want in real estate and agents is knowledgeable perspective. And by that, I mean, there's a certain thing called proximity relevance, which means if you call somebody up and they start talking and they're saying, well, times are really tough, you might say, listen, if times are really tough for you and you're thinking of selling, I've got some great news. Then don't say anything for a moment, see what they respond. This question will open up just an absolute myriad of comments. But in the nut of it, if they really do need to sell, and if you can help them with the far end, because a lot of people don't know how to put it together, and I'll just give you a couple of pearls here. If someone says, I live in Cambrian, I live in Willow Glen, where would I possibly move just to get out of here? Tell them the 17-mile drive. Before I go any further, I'd like you to do the research on the homes that are listed on 17-mile drive. I'll just tell you about one of them. I have a client who always questions me about this one question. This is what he does about every 2 years. So the last time he called me up a few months ago, I said, well, listen, how'd you like to live on a place that's got a world-renowned address? And we can swap equities. Now, I know he's never going to move. But he said, where? I said, 17-mile drive. I just looked at a house for $1.5 million. Okay, here's the short story. I stopped an owner up there and talked to him and said, how much do you guys pay for the gate and the road maintenance? She said, $5 a month. So I said, okay. So I looked at this house. It was 2,100 square foot. It was 1.6 million, not 36 million, 1.6 million.
I didn't know they had anything that cheap on 17-mile drive.
I'll tell you, well, you're not, you know, I'll tell you the wild part. At $2 million, we looked at a house. From the top of the second floor master bedroom, you saw the ocean. But from the living room, or dining room rather, the back glass wall, it's all glass, looks onto one of the fairways. That was less than $2 million. So if you've got somebody who's really stuck, let's say they're hung up in Willow Glen and they say something like Los Gatos or the upper end of Cambrian, and they say, listen, I live in such an exclusive area, I just don't want to move. Or they live in Almaden, right? You say, well, how about here, a gated community? Somebody that in Tokyo knows where you live. Someone in Perth knows where you live. How about that for straight? Now, of course, when I gave him the answer, I knew that he was never going to move. And he finally admitted that to me. But if, in fact, you're dealing with high-end clients, start researching around in Tony neighborhoods around the state so that you can say, well, there's a place down in LA, there's a place in Santa Barbara. And if they say, well, I'd like to go see it, then you call the Keller agent down there, the top agent in that office, and get that guy rolling as well for a referral. You don't have to actually hold his hand through the process, but get a hold of really good people in your company to help handle that process so you get paid as a referral. But what you become is a trusted advisor. What you become is the one thing they've been looking for. And after a while, what's interesting is they're going to stop asking you dumb questions. They're going to start inviting you over for dinner, to get together for birthdays, to get together for weddings. And it's happened for me several times. The point is that you bring a level of perspective where there's plenty of opportunity in the marketplace and you're knowledgeable about it to have that conversation. And when you do, believe me, you'll get their respect and you'll also get their referrals.
That's the key, building up repeat business and referrals. That's why we're a relationship business. And there's one thing that I notice sometimes in these classes, or not the actual class, but in the material, they talk about customers. I don't like the word customer. To me, a customer is somebody that walks into the store, buys a candy bar, and you never see them again. We have clients, and we build relationships with those clients. And if you do a good job, have a good relationship, you're going to have a client for life. You're going to get referrals, their friends, their families, their coworkers. And believe me, it does happen because that's where my business comes from. Mm-hmm. So I think we're about wrapped up for the day. Unless anybody has any questions, we are ready to call it a day.
Thank you, Randy.
You're welcome. Glad you guys made it. Good to meet you, Lee. See you, Elsie, Zachary, and Maria. Have a great day.
Thanks for everything, Randy.
You're welcome. Bye. How do I get out of here? Oh.